Hello, I'm Chuck Wolf, Chief Executive for Charles J. Wolf Associates, LLC. As a motivational speaker and a leadership consultant and executive coach and trainer, I often work with very successful people in their companies. Since many can't afford a professional, I volunteer to host a radio talk show called The Emotion Roadmap, Take the Wheel and Control How You Feel, on a nonprofit community radio station in Bridgeport, Connecticut, WPKN. My reason for doing the show is to share with as many people as possible this wonderful process for helping people manage their own emotions and their relationships with others. My goal is for everyone listening to learn to use the Emotion Roadmap to make life better. As you listen to me, help others, I hope you are also learning. As a Simsbury resident, I'm delighted to be able to make the show available through Simsbury TV. To learn more, go to my website, www.emotionroadmap.com. Thank you for listening and watching. This is Chuck Wolf, and you're listening to the Emotion Roadmap, Take the Wheel and Control How You Feel. It's another sunny day here in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and I hope that all of you that are tuning in and have some challenges you want to share or have something that you want to talk to me about today. The number for calling in is 203-336-9756, and the show again is the Emotion Roadmap, Take the Wheel and Control How You Feel, and I'm Chuck Wolf, your host. We're part of the Community Strip, and I want to thank everybody who's a regular listener for tuning in. And if you happen to be just catching the show for the first time, the show is all about learning how to take control over your emotions, learning how to be better at managing your own emotions, and also learning how to be better at influencing other people's emotions. So if you have challenges in your life, if you have situations where you're a bit uncertain about how to proceed, if you're wondering what to do next, if you're confounded by multiple choices and unclear which one is the best choice, and if you just simply would like some help and are feeling somewhat uncertain and doubtful about what's the right thing to do, the show's all about helping you to take a look at your situations through a different kind of lens by focusing on the emotions that are in play, by focusing on how you feel and how you want to feel and how that might be different, and thinking about what would you like to feel and how can you make that happen. Sometimes options appear like magic, where you might be feeling kind of helpless and hopeless. The idea of calling in is to feel like you got a plan at the end of the conversation for changing the way you're feeling and ultimately helping you to get done what needs to be done, helping you to make the decision that you feel is an informed decision, it's a meaningful decision, it feels right, and you move forward. Because one of the things that I've discovered is when smart people are stuck, when smart people feel like their critical thinking skills seems to have escaped them, or when their problem-solving skills have disappeared, it's almost always because some emotion is powerfully impacting them in a meaningful way. And sometimes emotions are dominating us. Aren't there times when you think about in your life, and maybe in some recent experiences, maybe right now, but certainly in your past at some point, where you felt like emotions kind of took control over you? At least they drove almost everything that you were thinking about and doing, because our feelings do influence our thoughts, they do influence our behaviors. There's a whole science that's evolved since the early 1990s, and in recent years, more and more attention is being paid to emotional intelligence. And I want to talk a little bit about why emotional intelligence has staying power today. But mostly the show's about helping you to understand what you can do. And the tagline for the show is to take the wheel and control how you feel. And a lot of times when we're challenged in life by situations, by circumstances, where we are needing to take a new direction, make a bold move, make a decision, a lot of times when we're stuck, as I said, smart people get stuck when emotions are in play. And this show is all about helping you to understand the emotional white water sometimes that we're living in and help you to navigate those waters. So if you want to call and you're familiar with the show and you know how it works, you know that when anyone calls in, my goal for the show is to help that person who calls in, to help you when you call in. By simply listening to you and understanding what's going on for you, spending a few minutes with the context of your circumstance, the situation, trying to tease out what emotions are in play, and then thinking about what would be more ideal to feel for you and anybody else that might be key to what is going on, to help you to think that through. And then in helping you to think through what would be more ideal to feel and how to get there, because that's the idea of a roadmap. A roadmap is to help you to get from, let's say you're feeling anxious and you know you need to be confident for what's about to happen. And you're just struggling with how to gain that confidence that you need. By helping you think through how to gain that confidence, how to help you move from feeling anxious to confident. It's kind of like, how do you plan a trip from Bridgeport to Boston? Are you going to go 95? Well, what if the road that you want to travel on is full of traffic or accidents or all kinds of mishaps, and often happens on that particular road? Is there another way to get there? Is there another way to go that you might go to Boston from Bridgeport? So the idea of a roadmap is helping you to get from one place to another. In this case, the emotion roadmap is to help you get from one feeling to another feeling. That's more helpful. And by helping an individual who calls, helping you if you call, I hope, my goal is that all of you who are listening gain some exposure and some understanding and some experience with the emotion roadmap. And the emotion roadmap is pretty straightforward, but it actually has profound implications. The goal of the emotion roadmap is to look at how you're feeling and understand how you're feeling as it relates to a particular situation. To identify how you're feeling, and again, if anyone or one or more people are involved, if they're feeling something and you are at least can make a good guess or estimate of what they're feeling and to what degree, we talk about your feelings and their feelings, and then we talk about, well, if that's what's going on right now, are those feelings helpful? And if they're not, what can we create that would be more helpful? What can we create that's going to make you feel more ideal? What's the better feeling? What's the best feeling? That's the emotion roadmap starts with, where are you? What's happening? What are you feeling? And then it has what I consider like a future state, which is if you could make magic happen and you wanted to feel something different that would be far more helpful than what your current feelings are. What would that be? What is the future state if you can get there? What would it look like? What would be compelling? What would be a compelling vision of a future state of from where you are to where you want to go to, where you want to be? What would make that happen? And then in thinking about that, we look at how might you get there? How might you get from anxious to confident if that's what we're trying to achieve? How do we get there? And then I help you plan your trip. Kind of like a travel agent, I guess. I help you plan how to get to where you want to go. And then we talk about, do you have like a travel agent? Do you have the means? Are you capable of getting there? Do you have a real interest in getting there? The question for the roadmap is really about, as we consider possible strategies for moving you from one feeling to another, and for moving other people from a particular feeling they may have that isn't helpful in your mind to a feeling you believe would be far more helpful. Let's talk about strategies for how to make that happen. And then when we talk about those strategies, I will ask you the questions of, is that something you really feel like you're capable of doing? That's the first question. And the second question is that something you really want to do? Very different questions. But that's the idea of a roadmap is, okay, where are we? Where do we want to go to? How do we get there? What are our choices? And if we find a choice that really is something we really want to do and are capable of doing, we now have a plan. And then we now are feeling hopeful, and we feel like we have some confidence in what comes next. And that's important. So that's how it works. So again, I'll give people a chance to call, and then I'll talk to you about a couple of other topics after we get some callers or we don't. It's always an interesting experience to see whether or not we get callers. But if you've got something that you'd like to share, I hope you feel confident that it's a good idea to share it for yourself, because I have some professional expertise in this area. I don't often talk about my background, but I have a lot of experience helping people from many years ago, being a therapist, a family therapist, a school counselor, a psychology professor, and then later, for many, many years, a leadership coach, consultant, trainer, and then in more recent times, for the last 15 to 20 years or so, becoming an expert in this area of emotional intelligence. So all those experiences I want to share with you. And so take advantage of it if you can by calling 203-336-9756. 203-336-9756. 203-336-9756. I'll give you a minute. Hi, this is Chuck Wolf. You're on the air. Who's calling, please?
Hi.
Hi, you want to give me a name I can call you by?
Angela.
Angela. Okay, thanks, Angela. How can I help you today?
I'm on the radio right now. Hear me. Oh, goodness. Okay, anxiety to confidence. That's what I wanted to talk to you about.
Okay, sure. Is it a general question that you have a problem with anxiety often?
I didn't know I was going to be on the radio. I just thought it was going to be like person to person. Oh my God. Hear me.
Yep, you're on the radio, and if that's not comfortable, then sure, go ahead and hang up. But yeah, the whole
I'm anxious, and I want to be confident, and like that's my whole question: is how do you get there?
Okay, I can. If you're more comfortable, you can hang up, and I'll just answer it in a general way. If you're okay talking to me, I can talk to you about you.
On the radio.
Yes, you are on the radio, and so that's the whole idea behind the concept of a talk show. Is you call in and you talk.
I'm on the radio, like.
Right.
Anyway, that's my whole question: anxiety and confidence.
Yeah. Okay. I'm happy to talk about that in a general term. If you're comfortable being on the radio, and it's important that you realize you are, the idea is that.
Be on the radio.
What's that?
I don't want to be on the radio.
Oh, okay. So then you want to hang up, and I'll just talk about it in general.
Can you call me back?
No.
Listen.
No, I'm sorry, but the whole idea of the show is that the reason I volunteer to do the show is I help people on air so everybody can hear and learn from it. That's the whole goal of the show. So
I appreciate you very much.
Okay, and if you like, again, I'm happy to talk about it in general, and you can stay on the line, and you don't have to say anything. But if you feel like saying something, you can. Does that sound okay?
I'm anxious, and I want to be confident.
Right.
And I used to be a very confident person, and then I lost my confidence. I don't know.
Yeah, so sometimes something triggers it. Has it been lost for a long time?
And I don't want it to be on the radio, what triggered me losing my confidence.
Yep, okay.
But I know exactly what it was, and I don't know how to get those things back.
Yeah. Okay, well.
I don't know how to be who I used to be, and I used to be epic, and now I'm tragic.
You used to be what?
I was epic. My whole life was epic. And now I'm a tragedy. And I don't know how to get back to who I was before.
Okay. Have you thought about seeing somebody for therapy? Has that been...
I see a therapist.
Okay. Is that helping?
I hate talking about problems. No.
Right.
It doesn't help.
Right.
I like to see him because he's cool. He's awesome.
Okay, good.
Like you sound awesome if I called. But
thank you.
Like I don't like to talk about problems. I like to do things. And I was epic, and I used to do things.
Yep.
Epically. And now I'm a tragedy, and I don't know how to get back to my former self.
Right. Okay, so let me try and be helpful in a general way without getting into your specifics. It's a little hard, but there is some general strategy. So let me share those with you, Angela. Okay, so we'll just kind of talk in general about what do people do when they are dealing with feeling the way you feel and wanting to feel confident again. And you feeling? Did you say it was anxious? Right? You feel very anxious. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. And that you know that there's an event that triggered it, and that event has had some powerful impact, and so far you've had no success in being able to move yourself back to having what you would call an epic life, and instead you're viewing it as a tragic life. That sound right?
It's been 3 years trying to make a success out of that tragedy, and for 3 years I've spent a lot of money. I've done a lot of things, and nothing has happened. I don't know what to do.
Okay, so it's if you've been 3 years, and that's with a therapist too, most of those 3 years?
Pardon?
Have you been with the therapist for most of those 3 years?
No, 6 months with that therapist. I've been to different therapists for the past 3 years.
Yep.
Yeah, but the guy that I see now, I like him, so I continue to go to him.
Okay.
The other ones, I didn't really like too much, so I didn't continue.
So I'm guessing that you've got some ideas that must have come from those conversations, and have you had anything that has come from any of these experiences and where you've paid money that has already had a little bit of help for you? Anything that has like a little bit of success?
I think that this entire world is going to a shit basket as far as hell. It's going to hell. And then, I am a good person, but I'm a little eccentric, and they put me in bad things, and I don't know. I'm on the radio.
Right. So let me just talk about the things you just said. So the world is going to hell is not an uncommon view for a lot of people right now. You realize that, right, Angela?
Really good. I don't think you understand. I'm a good person.
Yep.
I do good things, but I'm eccentric, and how I pull down. I'm autistic, and so I catch all the good places in the world, and I make a whole my own universe, and that was fine for many years, but now it's bad, and I don't know how to function now in this world today.
So you have some complicated issues, and you said
it's fine for so many years.
Right.
How can I be good for 38 years? You're fine.
And then one day you're not.
Have any problems in 3 years? You have all these problems. How?
So I'm assuming that your therapist is giving you some advice about things that you might try or do, or has coached you or counseled you to try to do a few things differently and to think some different thoughts. What are some of the things that, again, that you're trying now that might be helpful?
Okay. Things he said was that for me to credit score and have it get regained, stuff like that.
So build your credit score back up?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's one thing. Is that happening?
No.
Okay. So you haven't been able to do that yet? Okay. Take some time. So has he encouraged you to be patient with yourself?
Yes.
And
on the radio.
Yeah, I know that. And has he encouraged you to celebrate any little small successes you might have?
Yeah, but I have small successes. It's just I have a lot of passion, and it really hurt my heart soul. don't know why they would do that to me.
I guess my feeling about what's going on for you is that probably I'm not going to be able to be helpful to you in a way that's going to solve your problem today, but I can offer you some thoughts about how to be less anxious, and possibly some of them might be helpful, Angela. I'm happy to do that if you like.
Yes.
So one of the things that I think is helpful is to particularly when you have something that's been bothering you for a long time, is you tend to dwell on it and think about it a lot and to feel bad about it.
All day long.
Yeah. So one of the things that I find that is helpful for people is to focus on doing something different. I mean, I don't know if you're able, but one of the things that people find that is really meaningful is to be able to volunteer a little bit of time and a little bit of help to others who are experiencing some very difficult circumstances. Because sometimes when you're upset and you're feeling anxious and you feel like you want to feel confidence, one of the ways you can build a little bit of confidence and feel like other people will know you're a good person and other people will experience you being a good person is when you can be helpful to someone else.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's a strategy that you'd be capable of, and it'd be
that
something.
Was my life.
It was what you used to do before.
I used to volunteer for I don't think you understand my life before. I used to always give back. For every $1 somebody gave me, I gave $5 back. I'm super loved.
So
now I stay at home all day long.
Yeah. Now, is there some way for you to get back out and do some of the things that used to work for you?
They took I can't drive. They took my driver license.
Okay.
They took my things from me. So I'm stuck in Connecticut, on a bicycle.
Yeah.
That's me.
Is there anything, I mean, obviously there's a lot going on here, and some of it's beyond what I can be helpful with, but in terms of changing how you feel, is there anything that's possible that you can do from your home for others?
I can do a lot. It's just I wake up pissed. It did this to me.
What did it to you? I'm sorry.
I wake up every morning, and I just told you basic surface stuff, but I don't understand how.
Yeah, I think you have to turn your radio down or something. I think there's an echo, and I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Yes.
So I'm sorry. What were you saying? Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't hear you.
I hate being on the radio.
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I just I'm gonna try to go to my therapist.
Yeah. How do you get to your therapist?
I take a cab.
Oh, okay.
I have money. I'm not broke.
Okay. All right. So you take you take a cab, and that's the way you get to a therapist. And if you need groceries or food or something,
I have groceries. I have food. I have a home. I have everything.
So how do you get them though? Do you take a cab to get those too, or does somebody help you out? Or how's it?
I walk down the block. I know. It's not that difficult.
Okay, so you can walk out and get some things for yourself. You're in a neighborhood where you can do that.
Yeah, and I'm not a substitute.
Okay, so Angela, I don't know if these are helpful, but if you can find some way where you used to drive someplace and do things for others, maybe you can walk someplace and do some things that might be a way for you to start feeling good about yourself. It sounds like you're a very giving person, you're a very loving person, you're somebody who wants to be helpful and to find some meaning, and you're.
I have a boat, I have a car, I have everything. You understand? I know I have to walk now, and I don't want to pay these people money for what they did to me. like, I feel it's wrong that if you roll through a stop sign, like, listen, okay, where I'm from, I drove down this path for 1,000 years, and now they put a stop sign up, and like, you can't go there, and I'm 42. It gave me I was in a different state, and I had all these things and different broken taillight in New York, broken taillight in Texas, and like it's so inconceivable for me to take care of all these things at one time.
Yeah,
and I don't know how to take care of all these things.
Do you have anybody to help you?
I have me.
Is there anybody that can help you?
No, it's me.
Okay. So you're by yourself?
Yes.
And you have a bunch of things. You have, some money, I guess, and you're just feeling anxious and staying home every day and trying to break out of that mold. Is that the goal?
Yes.
And if you could describe a future that was really, like, great again, what would it look like?
It's my life before this.
What would that be like? What were you doing before?
I was in New York every day.
Okay.
And everybody loved me. And people would come and see me.
Where would they see you? I don't understand. What do you mean they would come
see? I was... Okay. I get overstocked from stores. And then I was in the fifth poorest community in the whole United States of America. And I would sell stuff.
I'm sorry. For some reason, your phone isn't working so well. I'm having a hard time.
I know. I live in a dead zone.
So tell me again what you just said.
Okay. I don't want to be on the radio. I'm on the radio.
Right.
I had an epic life, and I could travel the entire country. And I can do flea markets or car sticks. Like, I could just travel.
Yep.
And now I'm here in Connecticut in my apartment, sitting on a couch.
Right.
When I had the entire world. So now I'm here. And it sucks.
Okay, no, I get it. But I'm trying to understand if you could describe a future of what you'd want to see.
My future would be that I would live my life that I had before.
Okay, and what's stopping you from doing that?
I don't have a car and I don't have a driver's license.
And you lost that because something happened?
Because I don't want to pay. Listen, there's way more things other than that.
Yeah, okay.
But it's just, I sit there and I have to just do those things, some things. I can do them. It's over 3 states. Texas, New York, and Kentucky.
Yeah.
And they're all, like, not like I was, like, doing bad. I rolling through a stop sign, like, seriously.
Yeah.
A broken taillight, seriously.
Yeah.
But I have to pay for it. I have to.
Yeah, and you don't want to pay for it?
I'll pay for it. It just takes a lot of time, and I don't want to give them that money because I think they're wrong for doing that to me.
Okay, so let me just. I'm going to have to end the phone call, Angela, so just other people can call, and I don't know how much helpful I can be to you anyway. But let me say a couple things and just wrap it up, okay?
Yes.
So it seems like you had a life that you were loving before, like 3 years ago, and something happened that caused you to, your life to change. And part of it is you don't have a license, you can't drive anymore, and you used to be able to go all these places, and you can't now. And there seems like there might be a way to get that back, but you're reluctant because you don't think it's fair in the way people treated you. And is that part of it? Am I right so far?
Okay. That's it.
Yep. So here's the deal. I think you need to stop feeling sorry for yourself. I don't mean to be harsh, but I think you need, some stuff happened. People want you to be accountable and to own up and pay for it. And I think if you get past, like, they didn't treat me fair, and you just deal with what you need to deal with, you can start working towards getting your life back. I don't say it's going to, I mean, I don't know enough to say for sure how long this is going to take, but the one thing I would say to you in terms of feeling a little less anxious every day is every day take a small step towards what you know is returning you to the life that you had. Because if it isn't going to be easy, I understand you got all these issues, but if you don't take a step, you're going to land up on that couch longer and longer and longer and only get more and more depressed. And if you do take a step every day, a small step, and you write it down so you know you're making progress, and you can go back and you read it, and you see every day what you did, and you have a single step that you take each day that moves you forward, small steps but meaningful steps, that someday you know you're going to get your life back and you'll stop feeling quite so anxious. And every time you feel anxious, you pull the list out and you see the things you're doing to take control and to give yourself back the opportunity to live the life you were living. Does that sound helpful at all?
It does.
It's the best I got for you, and I hope it's helpful. But take a shot at starting today. And today, what you can say is, I made a phone call. I was on the radio, and someone on the radio gave me a plan, and that's the first step. And I feel good about making the call. And I got to figure out what I'm doing tomorrow.
I appreciate you.
Okay. All right, Angela. Thanks a lot for the call, and I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye.
Well, thank you, Angela, for calling. It's, one of the things that's hard is sometimes when a lot of people don't even have landlines anymore and call from a cell phone, and it's sometimes hard to hear, and I imagine some of you had a difficult time hearing. Essentially, Angela was someone who was struggling with some changes in her life that she thought were very unfair and unjust, and, she's not alone in having experiences that feel unfair and unjust. I'm sure almost everybody out there has had some, but these were particularly meaningful to her and helped and created something for her that has caused her 3 years of a lot of sadness and anxiousness. So hopefully, sometimes, boy, it's so hard, right? Everybody wants to have everything be better right away. I mean, me too. We just want it to happen fast, and part of that is, watching television over the years and 30 minutes solve major world problems because somebody figures stuff out. But most of the time, if we're going to solve a problem, it's going to take us some time, and we have to be patient. But taking the wheel and controlling how you feel is understanding that, hey, sometimes patience and very small little steps, meaningful steps, important steps, are going to help us get back to feeling the way we want, to living life the way we want, to being who we want to be. So, Angela, I wish you the best with all of that. Anybody else, if you want to call, the number 203-336-9756. 203-336-9756. And now wait a moment. Hi, this is Chuck. You're on the air. Who am I talking to?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
I can, and I'm sorry, what was your first? Okay, you want to give me a name to talk to you?
My name's Robbie.
Robbie, okay, thanks for calling, Robbie.
I just heard your thing with that nice lady, Angela, but mine's going to be pretty quick, I guess. I just recently found out that I may have cancer. They don't know yet, and I'm going through. I've had a lot of anxiety in my life before, and it's causing me a lot of stress.
Sure.
Because it's the doctor thing, Do I go to one doctor? One doctor says I go wait, don't panic, and the other doctor says I better hurry up and get a biopsy. What do you think I should do?
Well, I'm not a doctor. I guess if you're asking me what would I do, because that's all I can tell you. What's involved? Well, let me ask you a little bit more. What's involved with the biopsy? Is it very complicated and painful and difficult, or is it something pretty simple?
What it is it's that I have a swollen lymph node, and they gave me antibiotics, and nothing seems to be working. They don't know if it's cancer. They said a biopsy would give me definitely give me an answer. So I'm going to do it. It's just a matter of the type that they want to give me. There's a core biopsy, and then there's a little needle biopsy. And these doctors, I don't know who to trust. And right now, I'm just going through a lot of anxiety, worrying. Do I bite the bullet and find out right away, or do I wait to see this other doctor? There's another doctor down the road on the 29th. So what would you do? That's the right. So I know you can't give me the medical advice.
Yeah. So so you got a couple of weeks before you'd see another doctor, and the other doctor is going to give you. I mean, it sounds like you've seen a couple of doctors already. No.
Yes, I have. Yes.
So this is like a third doctor.
No. This is going to be the second ENT opinion. I've seen these other, like our APRNs and regular medical doctors in the emergency room.
Okay.
And but the one that I'm talking to, I don't want to say their name. It's a clinic.
That's okay.
And they made an appointment for me over at St. Ray's.
Okay. So here's what I think, Robbie. If it's me, and I know that the only question I would have is not whether they get the biopsy, because for me, I'd want to know. I mean, what's the upside to waiting? I don't see it.
I know.
So that's part of it, but the question I would have is like, what's the difference between the types of biopsies? Which one would you get? I mean, what?
Right. That's what I'm waiting for, because the one I would call the person at the good clinic said it would be a small needle biopsy. They put it in there, then they look at it in a microscope. It determines out what you have. The one I'm worried about is the one that's scheduled for Friday, which is what's called a core biopsy, which is like major invasive, taking a big gigantic piece out of my neck. So.
Okay. So I mean, now I understand the hesitancy. I mean, that's why I asked you what's involved. Because I mean, the obvious thing that jumps out at everybody that's listening, Robbie, is that hey, if you think you might have cancer, why wouldn't you start treatment immediately and find out what's going on? That's the first thing. But if they're going to, if there's sometimes they say the cure is worse than the disease, So you don't necessarily want to have a big chunk taken out of your neck, because what does that do? And is that without any risk? I don't think so.
Right. So, now you're getting you're right on the same thing. So my question is, I know you're a busy guy. I really like your show, by the way.
Thank you very much.
I just want to know, do you think I should just wait till the 29th and get the second opinion? What would you do?
Yes, I think. I mean, just again, for me, I think a couple of weeks isn't going to make the difference in terms of treating cancer.
Much. Well, that's where I'm going with that. That's where I'm.
But again, I'm not a doctor, so.
No, I know, but I appreciate. I know you're not trying to reassure me.
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from. You got to be careful.
But I'd want to know from another doctor. What do you think? Should I go for the neck, a bite out of my neck, or I mean, is it really worth it, or can I? Can I take a shot with the small needle? Because that sounds a lot more appealing to me.
Well, yeah, because they said they're going to find out with the small needle. That's why I was a little taken aback when I went to this, or the hospital. And they're already ready to do the surgeries, and I'm not. I don't know if I need surgery. I bite the bullet, like you said, take care of it. But if I don't have to, there's some other thing they could find out, like it could be a fungal infection. They gave me the wrong antibiotics. There's a lot of things that could be.
One other thing I'd ask you, Robbie, as far as the small needle, why do they think the core versus the small needle might be better? Is there a reason?
Well, I'll tell you what. Well, really quick, because I know you're busy.
That's all right.
All right. The thing is that this latest doctor is something that I've had. Believe it or not, it's kind of a small world. I didn't have experience with him directly, and I don't want to go into the whole story about my son and everything. But my son, many years ago, fast forward, had an issue, what's called an angiofibroma. It's a very rare vascular tumor, and we went through this particular hospital. And these people are all popping up now in my life. All these same people that want to do surgery. We ended up giving my son radiation. He's alive now. He's 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So it scares me when these guys say they want to take a big chunk out of me. These are the same guys that wanted to cut my son's head open, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to listen to what you said. Not that I'm taking your direct advice, but I think that's where I'm going. I mean, for a couple of weeks, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die anyway, right? So I think a couple of weeks to get another opinion is where I'm feeling.
Well, let me just ask you again, though. I didn't understand. What's the difference between the small needle and the core?
Well, there is none. The small or core, there is. Well, the guy that says the core, if they take a core biopsy, they're not going to have to remove the lymph node if it's cancerous or not cancerous. Doesn't make sense to me. It seems to me when they put the little needle in there, they're going to find out what's in there.
Okay. So, I mean, I've had skin cancer in the past, and some of the things that I know about cancer is that, I mean, maybe the core is that they have a bigger area that they grab and they look at all of it, and a small needle might just take a little sampling over one area and miss something. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of that might make some sense from some of my own personal experience.
Well, that's what I figured. The second doctor, the doctor that I had this appointment with, I'm going to tell all this stuff that I'm
Yeah.
telling you because he's a doctor, and he might say,
Yeah.
go for the core. If he does, I got to go for the core.
Yeah, I hear
But in the meantime, I think I should wait. And that's what's causing me a lot of anxiety because not knowing is a lot of. I have post-traumatic stress disorder, and I had TBI from the accident, so I'm in a bad. I was relating to that poor lady that called. You know,
Sure.
I know you really wanted to help her, but there's limited on what you can do with people. You know.
Well, maybe if I think for her, I think actually what I gave her, if she does it, I think Angela, if you do this, I think you'll find it's helpful.
No, I think you gave her great advice. I think
Yeah.
you did. I think, like I said, I like your show. I think you gave her really good advice. Hope she listens to you.
Well, let me say one other thing, Robbie, because we don't know what you're going to find out, right? And that's the anxiety. No. So first of all, I guess one of the things I just say in terms of managing the anxiety, the idea of the emotion roadmap is kind of like, I think this anxiety is, sometimes anxiety is legitimate. Like, I mean, I understand that anxious is like a normal feeling for this. So I think what, just in terms of not feeling so anxious, is to recognize that it's normal and you're going to feel it. But kind of, it's almost like you have like like a drawer, and you kind of put it in that drawer in your head, and you say, I know it's there, I know I'm feeling it, but I'm gonna know that it's appropriate because of what I got going on. But at the same time, I also want to focus on the rest of my day. So most of my day, I'm not thinking about it. Every time it pops up, I want to think, well, okay, I'm feeling anxious. I know I'm feeling anxious. And yes, I realize that you want me to feel more anxious, but I don't really need to feel anxious because I got a plan and I'm going to deal with it in 2 weeks. And so when it keeps popping back up, just like the self-talk is what I'm encouraging you to do, inside your own head is just like calm it down, recognize that it's appropriate, that it's a legitimate feeling for what's going on in your life, and that you're dealing with it. And that will help you to move on with the rest of your day.
All right, my man. I'm one of them cell phone people, so thank you so much for your advice.
Okay, Robbie. Thanks a lot.
I think it's correct, and I will listen to it, and you continue on helping other people. Okay, my man?
Thanks a lot, Robbie.
All right, ciao.
Thanks for the call. Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, so thank you, Angela and Robbie, for calling. I guess anybody else would like to call. The number, I'll tell you again, is 203-336-9756. 203-336-9756. One of the things that I find is helping other people, like I was encouraging Angela to do, because sometimes, when you're dealing with some stuff that's really tough and you're feeling kind of sorry for yourself, which, by the way, is pretty normal too, how do you get out of it? Sometimes it feeds on itself, right? So one of the things that you might think about doing that's different is trying to reach out and help somebody else that might be in dire straits. And when you make a difference for somebody else, you're not thinking so much about your own stuff. So when I help people on the radio, I'm hoping that lots of people are thinking about other people's stuff and getting out of their own heads, and also learning something about how do you manage what you're saying to yourself. This whole idea, what I just said to Robbie about self-talk. And Angela, if you're still listening, self-talk. Because if for Angela's situation, if you do one thing every day that helps to move you back towards the life you want to live, then you, as you feel anxious during the day, as the anxiety creeps back up and tries to overpower you, you remind yourself, hey, I'm taking steps to address it. I'm taking steps to make my life better. And in fact, if you pull out the little chart that you have, that you can read about the things that you've done every day from today going forward, you can remind yourself that, well, I'm anxious because I'm not there yet. I don't need to be that anxious because I'm moving towards a better future. And that will help to gain some confidence back, little by little, step by step, day by day. And for Robbie, with what's going on, when you don't know, but you might have some disease, in this case cancer, it could be other things, and you know that you're going to get another opinion from somebody that's been recommended that you have some high confidence in, you're dealing with it. And so it's not like the anxiety isn't legitimate, it is. But when it pops back up and wants to overwhelm you, because sometimes that's what anxiety does, you say, okay, I'm feeling anxious, and I know that anxiety is an appropriate feeling for what's going on in my life, but I don't have to deal with it now. I'm dealing with it, and it's going to be a few days before I get that second opinion that tells me whether I go for the first or the second test. but I'm going for the test, and I just need to know which one and why. And then you calm yourself back down again, and you live your life. So all these ideas about our emotions sometimes, again, can be overwhelming to us. They can just take over. It's interesting about emotions. It's kind of like breathing. You know, do you recognize right now as you're listening to me that you're breathing? Well, of course you do when I mention it, but were you thinking about it before? No, you're just taking a breath. That's how emotions work too. Hi, this is Chuck. You're on the air. Who am I talking to?
Hi, my name is Bea. I just wanted to make a suggestion for the last caller, Rob.
Could you turn your radio down?
Oh, I'm on
Speaker. Okay.
Hold on.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. Sounds like an echo chamber in here. Thank you. What was your first name, by the way?
I'm on speakerphone, too. Is that a problem?
Was it B?
B, yeah. I'm on speakerphone. Is that a problem?
No, that sounds okay.
Oh, okay. So I just wanted to make a suggestion that came up that I thought of with when the last caller shared what was going on with him, Rob.
Yep.
And that is that it wasn't real clear to me, but my suggestion what I would do, I would say, is to see if he can just do the minor biopsy, the tiny biopsy right away, and they might say, oh, it's fine, it's just an inflamed, it's non-cancerous, and then that would alleviate his worries, and he doesn't have to wait, and worry and be anxious. It might help relieve some anxiety.
You might be right. I didn't understand enough about the test, whether or not, whether that small might miss something. And that's why I think he's waiting rather than do, something that might not be as comprehensive. That's the one question I had that I didn't really know either. But B, you might be right. And maybe but it's like you got to know more about what the tests look at and what the difference is between them. But if he found out that test could tell him he doesn't have cancer, and then all this goes away and you could get that done fast, that's another choice he could make as well. You're right.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Well, I first of all, just let me say I appreciate the idea of a community strip, which is this whole 12 to 1 on WPKN is all about, community. And so the idea that you're reaching out and want to be helpful to somebody else is about community, and I really appreciate you making that call.
Yeah, and I'm really glad you mentioned that. That's so important in health is, taking care of yourself, of course, but then getting out of yourself and helping others, because that is a magical key that helps one to feel good about themselves.
Have you had some experience helping others?
Thanks so much for mentioning that.
Is that something you do yourself?
Yeah, I am always trying to do that.
Well, you did it this morning. I really appreciate you making the call, B.
Sure, you're welcome. Thanks for what you're doing to help people.
Thank you, and thanks for listening.
You're welcome. Take care.
You too, B. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Well, that was nice. So we've had calls from Angela, from Robbie, and from B, and that I like the idea of it. We're a community here, and while I have some expertise, I'm not the expert on all these things. We all are living our lives, and we all have some experiences, and sometimes those experiences lend themselves to what might be helpful to somebody else. Anyway, if you want to call me, I still have a little bit of time. The number's 203-336-9756. 203-336-9756. Hi, this is Chuck. You're on the air. Who am I talking to?
Hi, my name is Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi. Hold on one second. Let me just take you off the speakerphone.
Okay.
Hi. So I just happened to be listening in the car, and I was listening to Rob when he called in.
Uh-huh.
And I just thought I would call and maybe offer a little bit of information. I'm a pathologist, so I'm a physician, and I actually, deal with these types of biopsies. So I was hoping to maybe shed some light on the questions that you had.
Sure, go ahead.
The difference between the minor biopsy that I think somebody had suggested to Rob is that it's a very simple procedure. It's a very, very small needle that can be done outpatient. There's no anesthesia at all. And generally, it's very, very well tolerated by patients. And, the core biopsy obviously is more involved and as he mentioned, takes a larger chunk of tissue. My recommendation, or at least what I would do were I in his situation, is I would probably start with the fine needle aspiration, which is the small biopsy, because as the last woman who called in suggested, sometimes it can be helpful in ruling out cancer. So if you can do that, then you're pretty much done.
Interesting.
In the event that there is cancer there, they may need more tissue to get a more definitive diagnosis. But it could be helpful in ruling out cancer, potentially.
Interesting. So there's no downside to taking the first one by itself, and you might actually get clear if you took it?
Exactly. Exactly. It's very, very well tolerated by patients. I mean, I've done them before, and it's a very quick procedure. Depending on what hospital he's in, sometimes a pathologist can perform the procedure. And if there's a pathologist there, they can actually bring a microscope with them to make sure they have enough cells.
Well, let me ask you a question, Rebecca. If it was me and I was listening to you, I'd wonder, well, why would anybody want to do the second core biopsy then, and not do the small needle first?
Sure. So in making a diagnosis of cancer, particularly if it's some kind of lymphoid cancer, there are various ancillary tests that we use to make that diagnosis. Now, sometimes it can be made on kind of isolated cells that you can obtain through the small biopsy, but occasionally you do need more architectural information, meaning you need a bigger piece of tissue. So it actually kind of depends on the type of cancer that you might be talking about.
So then is he still smart to go to the second doctor then and wait till the 29th?
If it were me, I would just get the minor biopsy, the fine needle aspiration biopsy. Right
away, because would there be an advantage in getting it done quicker than to wait to a couple of weeks? I mean, obviously, the sooner you know it.
Sure, yeah. So the turnaround time is actually pretty fast. He would probably know within a week, at least some preliminary results. So if it's negative, then he's in the clear, and then if there is something that looks potentially cancerous, there are further tests we can do potentially on that tissue that was already obtained. Or, as I mentioned before, it may be necessary at that point to take more tissue through a more invasive method, like that bigger biopsy.
Interesting. Well, I certainly appreciate, again, you being a community member, stopping from what you're doing and taking a moment to call in and share some expertise around this. Robbie, if you're still listening, I don't know that you've got some additional information that may change the way you're thinking. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Rebecca. I really appreciate the phone call.
No problem. I hope that helps.
Thanks for the call. You have a great day.
Take care. You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks, folks. Thanks for the phone calls today. So I'm going to get going in a couple of minutes. I'll just remind everybody, this is Chuck Wolf. You've been listening to the Emotion Roadmap. Take the wheel and control how you feel. And we had 4 phone callers today and two community members who wanted to really be helpful and just share something that they were concerned about and trying to help one of the callers. And so Angela and Robbie, I hope you got some help today. And I hope everybody listened and got this idea of thinking about how you're feeling. And if it's not how you want to feel, what can you do to feel something different? And what would be ideal to feel? How can you get there? That's what this show is all about. And one of the things that I had as a topic that I didn't really get to talk a whole lot about, but I'll mention it at least in passing, is that there is a way that we can feel better about life if we are adaptable. One of the key ideas that's circulating in the world that I'm in professionally, in this whole arena of emotional intelligence, is the recognition how important it is to be able to deal with change, individual change, kind of things that Angela and Robbie were talking about, on the world stage change, in your department, division, company change, in your home change. Because, we know things don't stay the same. Things can be great, and then they're not. And then maybe they're great again. But we know things are constantly evolving and changing. And maybe one of the key things is to feel adaptable, Think about that one, folks. And I'll be back for in the first of the month next month, and I'm on the first and second Wednesdays from 12 to 1 p.m. on WPKN 89.5 FM. So take care, everybody.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.